Like our last video, these are also going to be function composition problems, but what hopefully you're noticing is different is that there's a number inside the innermost parentheses, not an x like there was last time. So the big difference is we're now evaluating. We will be getting single numbers as answers when we finish these, not brand new functions. So take a look at how these are similar and a little bit different from what we just looked at in the last video. So I know I'm dealing with composition because I see all those parentheses. Our first example is f of g of 3 in this case. So like we did last time, we're going to be plugging one function into another one. Start with the outer function, that's the f function, and go ahead and write it down exactly as it is, but in place of any x, put a big old blank parentheses and then minus 7. Within that function, I can see I have the g function. So within there, let's go ahead and write the g function just as it is. That's x squared and then plus 4. And so in our last video, this is from where we simplified. However, now that I have a number inside the parentheses, that number represents the x. And so what I'm going to do, if I can keep this kind of color coordinated, I'm going to replace that x with the number they want me to evaluate with. So in this case, that's 3. So I'm going to replace that x with a 3. Just a little tip too, when you replace that x with that number, always plug it in parentheses. It doesn't matter in this case, 3 squared is fine. But suppose, for example, that 3 was a negative 3. If you have negative 3 in parentheses and square it, versus a negative 3 without parentheses, and you just have a square on it, you may get the wrong answer. Negative 3 in parentheses, as it should be, times itself, get you a positive 9. So just include a second set of parentheses like I did. Rather than trying to distribute or work something out and be really complicated, just start with what's in green. Start with that innermost function, and we can do a lot of this in our head. 3 squared is 9, and adding 4 to that gets me 13 once I work out what's in green. At this point, everything else in orange was still around this, so 2 times 13 and then minus 7. At this point, again, we can finish this in our head. 2 times 13 is 26. Subtract 7 leaves me with 19 as a final answer. So like I said, compare this to our previous video where we had an entire expression, a new function as an answer. In these examples, we're going to get a single number. Okay, our second example, this time I reversed it, g of f of 3. And so the question that came up in class was, well, will we get the same thing? What a great question to ask. Let's take a look and see. What I'd like you to do, actually, is if you think you have the idea, go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. If you don't think you got it, or if you want to check your work, just kind of let the video play through. My work will pop up real quick and you can compare answers or jot a few quick notes down. But yeah, let's see. Do I get the same thing when I reverse the composition and do it in a different order? So I ended up with 5, definitely a different answer. So yes, switching the order does make a lot of difference. Hopefully you end up with the same thing, otherwise ask me a question in class. Be careful on that step right there. We had negative 1 in parentheses squared, meaning negative 1 times negative 1, so we had a positive 1 once I did that. But once again, yeah, I ended up with 5 for my composition. Let me know in class if you need help with that or have questions or aren't sure what you did wrong when you tried that.